Well, hello and welcome to today's Material Mondays. So I'm in that period of flow, which is my word for this month. Anyway, so I'm in that period where I'm trying to decide what it is I want to do. I've got a lot of projects on that I do want to do and want to get done, and so really it's about me just sitting down and thinking, okay, yes, I'm going to do this. I was listening to a couple of podcasts and came away with the idea of making the decision. You know, we can sit around and we can say, oh yeah, I feel like doing this, but I don't really feel like it. And it's like, well, looking at the pieces that I have and saying, well, what needs to be done next? And if I break it down, identify that, so that if I do decide not to do this one, when I come back to it, I can see that, okay, yes, these are the things I said that I would do. So I've got quite a few projects, little small projects and some experimentations that I want to share with you. And I want to finish off, if we get time, to make these. I had said in a previous Material Musings that I was going to show you how I made these. And this was inspired by the book that I had, Treasured Notions. So yeah, we're going to finish off with that. We'll briefly go through some of these projects and I'll tell you what I'm going to do with some of them. But essentially what I'm going to do is make a note of where each project is and what I want to do with it next. Because then if you don't, you're coming back and you're having to do the process all again. But to grow, you need to make the decision, either do it or decide to write down what needs to be done. Or whether it is even that you're really inspired by it. So, like, I'm looking at this particular one and the colours are not really inspiring me. This was avocado resist dyed, and then we've got all the stitching. I mean, it says A Star Is Born, we've got the bird. I'm not sure I want the bird. I think maybe it's just the bird that, this particular bird that I've sewed on, it doesn't fit. There's a feeling of it doesn't feel right. And I'm thinking even maybe these black beads, maybe I want to use a different type of bead. It just really feels like I've just, for me anyway. So I'm going to go through the pieces and share with you what was done with them. And you know, sometimes we do work on different things over a period of time, and maybe you're one of these people who, as well, like me, who it's like you just want to do so many things and work on so many things that you end up with a whole this is I'll show you what they normally go in. I've been putting them in my little travel. Comes between my travel case of stitched projects, and here are some more that I'd started to put together, and some of the tools that I'm using, my hoop, which I haven't, and everything's just stuffed in here. And I'm thinking to myself, have a couple of projects, don't have all of these, because there's no way you're going to get it all done at the same time. And see, they've just literally fallen on the floor. Let me get them. We can even go through them. I'll just whisk through them and you can have a look and see the kind of things that I'm working on. But yeah, I thought we would just have this is going to be a relaxed Material Muses, just really to kind of review what you've got and think about the things that you can do. So I know that I'm going to take off the beads, take off the bird, and I want to put this on a larger piece of cloth, maybe highlighting some of the colours. I'll do, I'm thinking some additional stitching to pick up maybe the blue. I think I'd probably even said that to myself before. So that is what we're going to do. Yeah, but so it's nice to have pieces that you can work on. And shall I give you, do you want to have a quick closer look? Oops, sorry, not that quick. But as you can see, there's a variety of different stitches, different colours. I might even try and find the pink to match the avocado and bring that out. I think I was trying to do it with this, but it's more a salmon colour. So we're going to do that. So that's that piece. We'll look at these bits, which are, some of them are at different stages. So let me put this here. Okay, so we've got this one. I've just gathered fabric together, and I've done some stitching on it, and this piece itself was tie-dyed, and then we've got some painted fabric along here, and then I've just experimented with doing some French knots with the burlap. I've taken the burlap apart and so formed like a yarn, and yeah, so I'm going to be working on that at some point. And then we have a variety of others that are at different stages of gatheredness. This particular one is, again, just some small pieces that I've worked on, painted. We've got glitter paint there, some dyed pieces. This is kind of like a whole range of hand dyed pieces that, as I'm speaking about it and looking at it again, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'd really like to work on this. And again, put it on backing fabric. There must have been, it's like one of the dyes I've used, or one of the fabrics that's vintage, that reminds me of my mother. And growing up, it's just like a feeling of when I was younger, and Mum used to do a lot of sewing, and it's amazing how different fabrics or different environments or just a particular situation will get you feeling nostalgic again. And as I say, it brings back memories of childhood, but just feeling. I think it was one of the times I was off school. I wasn't well, and Mum was at home looking after me, and then she, made me see. So it's kind of like all the details of the thing is not there, but I remember how it made me feel. So again, just some small pieces, looking at scraps and seeing how you can put it together. This is not going to be one on its own, but it will probably be joined with another one. And I'm just looking at the fabric that I've used here, and I pulled this out, and how you can then layer them and continue to work on them. Here's another piece where we look at a variety of different fabrics that's come together. Some these are all like shop brought fabrics and just recycled fabrics, and this one I've left as is in terms of being crinkly. I think that's a nice effect, and I was thinking maybe of doing a wrist cuff with this one, but adding some more beading, making it a bit more, but leaving it kind of frayed at the edges. Okay, and swiftly moving on. Again, just some experimenting. I'm looking at how fabrics go together. These are, we've got stenciled fabric, painted fabric. I actually like these little ones, so I might take off some of these bits. And then I've just got fabric that I have, again, just scrap pieces. And the thing that you have to be careful of here is because we get a lot of damage with salt water, that things are going to get affected by the air. But I really like the way that it's just dryer sheet, and I painted it, So I really like the way that one turned out, so I don't want to cover it with too much. At the time I was just like, oh yeah, let me just layer it, but I'm thinking of taking some of these off and leaving a lot more of it exposed, and maybe adding some beading. So again, have your pieces where, regularly go through the pieces, because sometimes they can get lost amongst other things. Well, I find that's what happens to mine, and these are my stitched words that I'll look to put on some of the projects. Okay, and here's a couple that had got to, this is partly finished. We've got clay dyed, we've got conventional dye, and then just some ink here, and I really like the colours. And then I had this bit here, I haven't yet stitched it, but I'm thinking I like this on its own. It doesn't need to have, I haven't thought about a wrist cuff with this, but that'd be a nice wrist cuff. I'm finding that I can't wear anything on my skin apart from fabric or leather. I can't wear gold, silver or any other metal. I always come up in a rash, whether it's around my neck or on my wrist. And here's another one that it needs a backing, so that will go with my others. And we've got a backing fabric that I've applied these on. This is actually cardboard, and I have used, what is it, paintbrush covered it, and so we've got this nice texture. And then coupled with the other elements, ink dyed, French knots painted, and then this elephant detail here. Peace, grace and love. Okay, so that's those pieces. So I also need to, just think about where I'm putting pieces. So here's one I was working on. I decided to add glitter to it, and I've done some stitching. I just need to decide what's gonna happen to it. We've got some other small pieces that I've been working on that says flow. We've got a figure here moving. So I'd place them together because I thought, well, if they're all together, I can just, do a little bit every day. But that hasn't been the case. And so it's just getting back into that. I love the colours on this, the oranges and the browns. And we've got this pop of pink and blue. So I think I would find the colours and try and bring them out into some stitching, just make some little kind of seed stitching. This says self-love. We've got a lady, this is the baby. And again, just experimenting with the stitching. And then we've got some that I haven't yet completed. I was experimenting with the hair on this one. So I'm not sure how I want it to go. Maybe I could just wrap it up like that. Anyway, and this one needs some stitching. I don't know what you can see. We've got a figure here with arms. I was seeing a figure here coming from behind. Or this figure here. And this is the behind figure. So again, just, we'll wait and see. But I need to, these need to go where they can be, I want them flat and maybe kept near so I can just pull it out rather than it's squished in that bag and I'm moving them from one place to another. And then we got these, and these are exciting me. So these I've got to a certain stage, lots of stitching, we've got the word there, and now I'm stitching them onto this backing. So I'm actually looking forward to doing that. So we've got that one, we've got this one, it says shine, and taking them further with maybe some beading. but actually going through them and seeing them at this particular stage, it's just like, oh, now what would they need to get them to the next stage? And if I focused on it, how soon would I get it done? And that's how it is with many things we approach in life. If we really put our minds to it, we can get it done. Like when I was dyeing these pieces or painting on this and writing the words, I never imagined it would then get to this stage. So imagine if you put your mind to whatever it is, how far you would get. Relationships. Yeah, these could potentially be a series of pieces. Purpose. Okay, and then I've got some bigger pieces that I'm looking at. So there's this one. And this I've been working for a while. I'd started to put these French knots in purple on this bit, and I'm not sure why. I think it was one of those times where I wanted to do something to these ends, but this isn't what I want. I think looks how it doesn't look how I want it to look, so these need to go. And it needs a backing, and I just need to finish it. One of the things I was looking at was just this figure. It's almost like she's lost weight over time, and so the what she wore to begin with, it's just like it's too big for her. So then I tried to make her smaller, and then it was just like, okay, let's do this line. And that feels a bit better. But yeah, just gonna continue to play around with it. And we've got some nice, the green stitching here and here. And I think I want to bring in the blue. I've got a colour, this colour. And the only other thing is if you are painting your fabric with acrylic, you have to be mindful that the acrylic hardens the surface. If you use fabric paint, it remains, well, the ones that I was using, the tulip ones, it keeps the fabric soft, so you can still stitch through it. The other thing I was doing was experimenting with fibres. So this is jeans material. Right, so it was a leaf that I had stripped, and I've gone very carefully and done some stitching. So I'm exploring how we use the different fibres, or how I can use the fibres that I have in my garden and use it in some of these projects. So I'll probably be doing more of these small pieces and working on them. I've also found the palm leaves that are nice to strip. You've got the banana fibres and many other of the many different plants that you can find that's used for, say, weaving, that can be used as well. And lastly, this is another piece. Oh, we've got a couple of small pieces here. So again, I'm thinking of just putting this word here. And then we've got this one I've just recently been adding to. I was doing their hair, and I just need to do their faces, which I think I'm going to stitch, or I started to draw in, so we'll see anyway. But this one was proving to be difficult because it was painted with acrylic paint, and so it's a lot harder to get the needle through and the thread. Okay, but this one is another one. I've just been adding strips of fabric. We're creating this face, they'll come out. So I have stitched, actually let me come in and then you can actually see the features. All you can see is the eyes and the mouth at the moment. Come in quickly. There we go. So you can see her better now. So we've got the features and I want to do the neck and the body, and then I'm adding the rest of the elements. So I'm just taking my time and working on it, and there is no rush for this one. I haven't felt inspired to work on it. I got it to this point and then I put it down. I was distracted, but I am feeling, yeah, okay, even if I just did the body and maybe the hair and work around the rest of it, you then feel inspired as you get on with it. Okay, so let's look at these. Let's look at these, shall we, and try and work on them. So all you need is I've got some harder fabric. This was jeans material, and so this is kind of like, yeah, similar sort of trouser material. Okay, and we need some ribbon. So I've got some ribbons here that I really don't use often enough, so it's nice to be able to make use of them. And I've got some brads here, and I think I've stuck them together. So you can either stitch them, if you want to make something quickly, you can either stitch them or you can just use fabric glue to just hold them in place, and then you can stitch them afterwards. And I think that's what I might do. So I've got some fabric glue here, and I want some brads. So I've got a whole load of brads I brought years ago, and you think you're using them, but it's just like they seem to be multiplying. Anyway, so we're going to use some of the brads, and I've just collected some bits of fabric that might get used, might not. Some ribbon. I got this at the charity store. What else have I got? These. So it was from a curtain, and I just cut these bits out. And I was just trying to decide whether I wanted it to look really neat, so to cut these bits off, or I wanted to just leave them like so. Or you can make a feature of that on the fabric by, you know, like doing some stitches that then carries on. So this then would all go into the fibres. I just put them all together and then see what can be done with it afterwards, especially the bigger pieces. Anyway, so let us get going. And then I've got a patterned piece of fabric. I thought I would see how that looks. So these can then be added to different projects. It can be a centerpiece for a larger piece. It's up to you, but it's nice to be able to make. And yeah, we're just going to get on, and I will see how we go. Sometimes I just like, it's just like using up some of the pieces you may have. As I say, it can be as simple or as extra as you like. I'd cut this out, and I'm not thinking that. Okay, so I'm thinking this, yes. and a piece of gold along here, just like the others. Yeah, so maybe I'll just make a whole set of them. The other thing you can use is hot glue as well. But again, you have to do it in strategic places if you want to stitch, or if you're going to stitch with. So these were the two that I'd previously made, and you saw how easy it was to just put them together. And as I say, if you really want to stitch, you can stitch. I just didn't really feel like doing it right now, because sometimes you don't feel like it. So yeah, so I've glued them, and I have the option of coming back and working on them, stitching them, or maybe when I apply it to, say, maybe a different fabric. I'm just using this as an example, it's not one that I was going to use, but if I wanted to do some smaller stitches on there, so I can add it to another fabric and then do the stitching that I want, or just have them like that. And yeah, they can be used on tags, they can be used in your art journal, and they're a great way to use the smaller scraps of fabric and things that you may have not used in a while. So I don't very often get to use the brads, and even these ribbons, it's just like it's sitting there, even these. So I hope that that's inspired you to look into your supplies and see what you've got that you can use and make the most of. And even these now are elements that are there ready for when I've got the exact project that I think, oh, I really wish I had, and oh, look, I have. So yeah, I hope that that's been useful. Yeah, so I hope to see you next week with some more things that will be inspiring that you can do. We'll look at a book and some ideas that we can get from the book. What one have I been using so far? I think it's still Treasured Notions. I hadn't looked at a new book that deals with fabric projects, so I'll be doing a new one in April, and we can see how we can be inspired by some of the things that we can either see and think, okay, let me use a different material, or let me do it in this way. But yeah, you know, just keep yourself creating and you'll get back to the stitching. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, I'm not feeling a way about not stitching these, because I know that I can add stitching to them, and this is a nice first stage to get the layers down, and they're not movable, but I can now then add the stitches as I want, and they're good to go. So see you later, alligator, and I look forward to hearing what you've been up to. Take care for now.